they said they must have numchi. I said, wait a minute, what's that? Through the interpreter, I learned that it translates directly to living waters in the heart. And of course, that's compassion, core values, spirituality, or at least that's what it might be for us in our language. One of my heroes is Paul Rusesabagina. When I had the privilege of meeting him a couple of years ago in Geneva at the Hilton meetings, he was the hotel manager in Kigali, whose story made the big screen in the movie Hotel Rwanda. What is so heroic about him is that he provided shelter for over 1,200 orphans and refugees when the militias were slaughtering the Tutsi. If any of you have ever heard the story or seen the screen movie, you can understand why he is one of my role models. During a time of immense pain and stress and loss, he looked outward from himself in an effort to meet other people's needs. Mr. Rusesabagina's biography is entitled An Ordinary Man. Yes, he was, but he set an extraordinary example for us. You and I may be ordinary people, but each of us can decide to be extraordinary through our actions. One of the most moving stories that I've encountered involves a women's group in Nepal. Because of the gift of a water buffalo, these women were able to provide milk, meat, money, muscle, manure, material, and motivation, we call them the 7 M's at Heffer, to attain a better life for themselves and their families. They wanted to go above and beyond the expected, pass on the gift, because they considered that their obligation to pass back their living loan. The group had a meeting, and they decided what they wanted to do something for someone else. Each woman agreed to take 1 handful of her rice for the family's food each day and put it aside. And then at the end of the month, they brought it together and took it to market and sold it. And with that money, they bought ducks to help a women's group and their families in China. And they said, we don't want to be part of the problem, we want to be part of the solution. In 2005, the Clinton Global Initiative and CNN produced a televised global discussion. You may have seen it on CNN, that focused on some of the key challenges of our time: poverty, hunger, HIV/AIDS pandemic, other health issues, the critical need for clean water, climate change, governance, education, and sustainable development. Now, I was at the Clinton Global Initiative. I went to the first 5 years, and I passed on my invitation to the interim CEO, as I should have this year. But I knew about these events, so I got up really early to go sit on the front row, because it was going to have an auditorium, and I wanted to see up close their body language and hear their answers and make notes. And as you might know, they had observers sitting behind the group. So, you know, when you looked on TV, there was the group, kind of like these political things where you have a diverse, all ages group back there. And so they didn't have enough women. So they got me off the front row and put me by John Glenn and some others, and I was just sitting right up there having fun. And the whole debate began, the discussion. Christiane Amanpour, as you might guess, was the MC, facilitated discussion. And I had, let's say she's right there looking at me, and then there's a row like this of people on each side on their tall stools, but they had observers sitting behind them. So I looked through there, and I could see Bill Clinton just right in the eye. And he looked over at me, what Joe Luck is doing here from Arkansas? And we talked about it later. But let me tell you what I saw. I saw former President Bill Clinton, emotional, excited, his face would get red, and now his hair is white, and I knew it was all dark and curly, and he was 32, that's when he was governor. And, you know, passionate about everything. Next to him on this tall stool was this petite, beautiful woman, Queen Rania of Jordan, advocating for global education. Next to her was Jeffrey Sachs. And you know Jeffrey, United Nations, he advises the United Nations General Secretary. He also is the author of End of Poverty and Commonwealth and director of the UN Millennium Project. And very professor, I think he even had a little vest on, you know, and just looked just the part. Now, I don't know about all these professors, but he was dressed like one. And then with the back to me, 3 here, This is this powerful woman, big, strong, with her big African headdress and her outfit and her clothes. And she was regal. And it's Wangari Maathai, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, of course, that has linked what we're doing in poverty, or what poverty is doing with the environment, and how critical it is to consider both. And then next to her was a pinstripe suit, dark silk socks, highly polished shoes, a tie just so, really looking smart. And that was Paul Wolfowitz, who was then the former Deputy Secretary of Defense, and then he was President of the World Bank. But the last one over here, there was a leather jacket, some boots, some blue jeans, kind of low cut in the back. I was sitting behind him. Sunglasses, and of course it was Bono. As I observed this diverse group, I was reminded that it will require all of us working together to make a lasting difference. And if I'm going to get the gong, tell me before I start this story, but I want to share another. In 2006, when Heffer formally dedicated our new platinum lead, Green World Headquarters, which I'm proud of, a woman named Tara Trent was a speaker at the event. She took the podium in front of former President Clinton, then Governor Mike Huckabee. We got a lot of good politicians and interesting ones in Arkansas. Professor Jeffrey Sachs, other dignitaries, religious leaders from all faiths, about 5 of them, and so forth. There were 2,000 people that came 10 in the morning to sit in the back lawn of our building and be there for that. And she turned around to speak to a crowd that size with all those dignitaries. She talked about denial of an education and the life she had had in Zimbabwe and her journey to success. And I'm going to read her comments quickly. 14 years ago, and today it'd be 18 years, an American woman visited my village. What surprised me most when she came is that she joined the circle and she sat down among us. We were sitting on the ground and we didn't even have a mat. It was dirt ground. We were eating bambara nuts, similar to ground nuts. And she just right away joined and started eating the bambara nuts. And I looked at this woman and I thought, how can she sit among us? How can she sit on the ground? As we were sitting, she started asking us, what are your hopes, your dreams? What activities are you engaged in? As women, we never thought we were doing anything really that would sum to anything, is how she says it. Because our work has always been devalued. And as we started talking, what also surprised me was that she created a dialogue amongst the women. She provided a spark plug to the circle, and I still call it the dream circle. She started saying, write down your dreams and your goals and believe in them. And after she left, I did that. Tara then pulled from her pocket at the ceremony a small tin container. Inside she carried a very worn, faded, folded piece of paper. Before this time, she had kept it under a rock near the place in her village where she had herded cattle, and had recently returned just to retrieve it, to bring back, to share at this dedication. She spoke about Tinagona, that's meaning it is achievable, as motivation for believing in and pursuing her dreams. I don't want to mess up her words. And she told us that in her dream box, she had listed her wishes for 3 levels of education. She would like to come to America, receive her bachelor's, her master's, and her PhD degree. And fortunately, with a spark of hope and assistance from Heffer International, the woman Tara Trent did achieve. She achieved her dreams of lifting herself out of poverty and getting an education. Today, Tara has earned her bachelor's, her master's, and recently her doctoral degree. She is now Dr. Trent, and that was while raising children and taking care of a husband that was abusive, who eventually died of AIDS. Her story continues like this, her words. Even though I am the one who had to achieve my dreams, it was the inspiration of the American woman who sat beside me in a remote village in Zimbabwe who made me believe. That woman was named Jo Luck. Well, I want you to know I was stunned to hear that she was there and speaking about me. We were colleagues. She was the assistant director of monitoring and evaluation. I knew she was from Zimbabwe, and I knew her background would be very similar to so many wonderful men and women that have taken charge of their lives and become successful. We recently appeared on the Oprah show together. I don't know if any of you saw that. It was very exciting. Her story is magnificent. We've spoken at Yale and New York University and some other places. And Nicholas Kristof and Cheryl Woodun included Terai's story in their book, Half the Sky. So this was about starting with some animals, manure, some crops, some dignity, some beautiful education. I mean, it's the beginning of so much. They move much beyond ending hunger. They move in as leaders in their community, and she's trying to earn enough money to go back there and help other women do the same thing, or at least realize their dreams. This incredible woman serves as a reminder to me that you never know how you will affect the journey of others. Hearing her story has certainly kept me even more accountable. It has made me even more aware of my actions and my words day to day, things that might seem minor. My strength as a leader is only as strong as my capability to influence others positively. Each of you has a Terai in your life. Hopefully, you will have the blessing of meeting her one day. But maybe you won't. However, she does exist. I want to encourage you to live your dream, and as leaders, to help others fulfill their dreams and realize their potential. Pass on your gifts. Many of you will impact lives in ways you never thought possible. Hold close your core values. Think long term. Don't forget your num chai. And always believe, Tina Gona, it is achievable.